भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions, text number 26 onwards. Bhume suretar varut vimarditaya kleshvayaya kalyasit Krishna keshaha jataha karishyati jananupalakshya margaha karvani cha atma mahimopa nibandhanani. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. So previously, 3 verses, Lord Brahma described past tense of Lord Ram. And here, although he doesn't say, but Prabhupada says in the purport, this verse is especially describing the appearance of Lord Krishna and its immediate expansion, Lord Baldev. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baldev are one supreme personality of Godhead. The Lord is omnipotent and he expands himself in innumerable forms and energies, and the whole unit is known as the one supreme Brahman. Such extensions of the Lord are divided into 2 divisions, namely personal and differential. The personal expansions are called the Vishnu Tattvas, and the differential expansions are called the Jiva Tattvas. And in such expansional activity, Lord Baldev is the first personal expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what it is mentioned in the shloka, that he descends with this plenary portion. So that is Lord Balramji. In the Vishnu Puran as well as in Mahabharata, both Krishna and Baldev are mentioned as having beautiful black hair, even in their advanced age. The Lord is called Anupalakshya or Marga, or in still more technical Vedic terms, Avan Manasa Gochara, one who is never to be seen or realized by the limited sense perception of the people in general. So it's very difficult to realize Krishna by our material senses. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said by the Lord, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavrita. In other words, he reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone and everyone. Only the bona fide devotees can know him by his specific symptoms, and out of many, many such symptoms, one symptom is mentioned here in this verse, that the Lord is Siddha Krishna Kesha, or one who is observed always with beautiful black hair. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baldev have such hair on their heads, and thus even in advanced age, they appeared like young boys, 16 years old. So that is a particular symptom of personality of Godhead. So here, like Prabhupada talks about this beautiful black hair, and he says, even the advanced age, although Krishna doesn't have any advanced age, but even if we materially calculations, he performed his pastimes on earth for 125 years. So even at that age, at 125 years, he looked like a 16-year-old boy, because he never grows older than that. But if we look at Christian belief, they show God because, of course, in their scriptures also it is mentioned God is the oldest person, he's the original person, which is fine. But they show God as very old person with long white beard, long white hair, flowing hair, and he's a old, haggardly man wearing white robes. But God doesn't have to get old. Why he has to get old? He could be the original person, he could be the oldest person, but he doesn't have to look old just like we do. But this part of of the of the beauty of Krishna or beauty of God is not really understood by people because they try to estimate God by their own tiny brains. In spiritual world, the time is there, but the influence of time is not there. It's with by the influence of time we get old, we get disease, we die. But in spiritual world, there is no such thing as getting old, getting disease, and dying. Everything is eternally the same, and everything is every day it becomes new, which is completely opposite to the material world. So we cannot have a material mentality to gauge Krishna with. That's where we make mistake. And especially for Krishna, he of course Balramji also has beautiful hair, but Krishna is one of his name is Keshav, and Keshav means one who has beautiful curly black hair. Keshav. Of course, there are different meanings of word Keshav. One is because he killed the Keshi demon, that's why he's called Keshav. One is why because he has beautiful curly black hair. And of course, there's another intimate reason that Krishna, with his own lotus hands, he he ties the braid of Srimati Radharani's hair, and that's why. And he like he does a what do you call hair setting of Srimati Radharani. So that's why also he's called Keshav. But anyway, one of the reasons he's called Keshav because he has beautiful black hair. In Brahm Samhita, it is stated that although he is the oldest personality amongst all living entities, he always looks like a new youthful boy. That is a characteristic of a spiritual body. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and disease, but the spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Living entities who reside in the Vaikuntha Lokas in eternal life and bliss have the same type of spiritual body without being affected by any signs of old age. It is described in the Bhagavatam, Canto 6, that the party of Vishnu Dutas who came to deliver Ajamil from the clutches of the party of Yamraj appeared like youthful boys, corroborating the description in this verse. So in sixth canto, beginning of sixth canto, when we study the story of Ajamil, the Vishnu Dutas, four Vishnu Dutas who came to deliver Ajamil, the description of Vishnu Dutas is given beautifully. How they all look youthful boys because nobody gets old in Vaikuntha. It's ascertained that thus that the spiritual bodies in the Vaikuntha Lokas, either of the Lord or of the other inhabitants, are completely distinct from the material bodies of this world. Therefore, when the Lord descends from that world to this world, he descends in his spiritual body of Atma Maya or internal potency, without any touch of the Bahiranga Maya or external material energy. The allegation that the impersonal Brahman appears in this material world by accepting a material body is quite absurd. So this is what Mayavadi says. The impersonal Brahman, ultimate is impersonal Brahman or Nirakar, and in there something happens, and whenever when a specific incarnation has to appear, then he appears, but ultimate is Nirakar. He merges back into Nirakar. But that is quite absurd. Because there is a spiritual world, and it is said in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna appears by his own internal potential. Therefore, the Lord, when he comes here, has not a material body, but a spiritual body. The impersonal Brahm Jyoti is only the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord, and there is no difference in quality between the body of the Lord and the impersonal ray of the Lord called Brahm Jyoti. So Brahm Jyoti is also spiritual, and it's a glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord. It's called the Khanti of the body of Krishna. But that is not the ultimate. Ultimate is Krishna. Now the question is, why the Lord, who is omnipotent, comes here to diminish the burden created upon the world by the unscrupulous kingly order? Certainly the Lord does not need to come here personally for such purposes, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his pure devotees who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Mahatmas, great devotees of the Lord, take pleasure in chanting of the activities of the Lord. All Vedic literatures are meant for turning one's attention towards the Lord and his transcendental activities. Thus, the activities of the Lord in his dealings with worldly people create a subject matter for discussion by his pure devotees. So, going back to the verse, if you look at the translation, so Brahma is saying, when the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with this plenary portion. What was the reason for him to say? The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and he performs extraordinary pastimes. Means Krishna, like Prabhupada also mentions in the purport, okay, that time the earth was overburdened by kings like Kansa, Jarasan, Shishupal, Dantavakra, and so many other demonic kings. But he doesn't come just to kill them. This is not the main reason. He comes with his beautiful black hair, means he comes mainly to attract his devotees, to perform superhuman, extraordinary pastimes, to attract, to give something to his devotees to talk about, for the present devotees and the future devotees. That's the reason he comes. Just to kill the kings, he can send any of his energies to kill the kings, demonic kings. It's not a big deal for Krishna. Or just like when he comes also, like Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, when Krishna, the Supreme Personality, comes, all the incarnations come in his body. They are in his body. And the killing part actually was not done by Krishna. Killing part was done by Vishnu in the body of Krishna. Krishna personally, he doesn't kill anybody. He is there to play on his flute and perform beautiful pastimes with his devotees, with his intimate devotees, whether it's cowherd boys or cowherd girls or Srimati Radharani or gopis. That's what he's there for, to enjoy. And to attract all of us, all the future devotees. Yet you come to my dham, come to my place, and you will enjoy with me. But we are so much enamored by the pastimes of Maya that we still don't want to go back. That's the problem. Text 27. Token jiva haranam yatulukikaya stramasikasya chapada shaktopavritaha yadangivtam tarat gatena divisparshorava unmulanam tvitarathar junyornam bhavyam. So some of the pastimes are mentioned here. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putna when he was just on the lap of his mother? To overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old? To uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky? When he was only crawling, all these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. So some of the pastimes are mentioned here. So one cannot manufacture a god by one's mental speculation or by numerical votes, or as has been become a practice for the less intelligent class of men. God is God eternally, and an ordinary living entity is eternally a part and parcel of God. God is one without his second, and the ordinary living entities are one without number. All such living entities are maintained by God himself, and that is the verdict of the Vedic literatures. So God is not God, he doesn't become God by some yogic powers or by doing some tapasya. He is always God. And no living entity can ever become God. Never happens. So Prabhupada speaks about the pastimes. When Krishna was on the lap of his mother, the demon Putna appeared before his mother and prayed to nurture the child in her lap. Mother Yashoda agreed, and the child was transferred onto the lap of Putna, who was in the garb of a respectable lady. Putna wanted to kill the child by smearing poison on the nipple of her breast, but when everything was complete, the Lord sucked her breast along with her very air of life, and the demon's gigantic body, said to be as long as 6 miles, fell down. Somewhere, I think in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, it is written that her body was 12 miles long. That's how tall she was. But Lord Krishna did not need to expand himself to the length of the she-demon Putna, although he was quite competent to extend himself more than 6 miles long. So Krishna could do anything, but he was only 6 days old actually when he killed Putna. And Putna, when she came to her original form, it was 12 miles long. And when she fell down dead, Krishna was still the same size, 6 days old boy, and he was still sucking on the breast of Putna. It's a beautiful pastime. When we get to 10th canto, we'll describe in detail. And there's so many things to learn from this pastime of Krishna killing Putna, and specifically the fact that although Putna came, and before Krishna, she had killed so many boys, so many babies, little innocent babies, by feeding them the poison, and after killing them, she had eaten their flesh and drank their blood. She was a Rakshasi. And she came with an intention to kill Krishna also. But Krishna, being so merciful, although he had to purify her by giving her so much of pain, within few seconds he gave her so much of pain. But after purifying her, Krishna sucked the breast milk of Putna, and and he gave her the same position as nurse, as a mother in Golok Vrindavan. So Putna is serving Krishna in Golok Vrindavan as an assistant of Mother Yashoda eternally. That's how merciful he is. So Prabhupada talks about that Krishna didn't expand himself. In his Vaman incarnation, he posed himself as a dwarf Brahman. But when he took possession of his land, promised by Bali Maharaj, he expanded his footsteps to the top of the universe, extending over thousands and millions of miles. So it was not very difficult for Krishna to perform a miracle by extending his bodily feature. But he had no desire to do it because of his deep filial love for his mother Yashoda. If Mother Yashoda had seen Krishna in her lap extending 6 miles to cope with the she-demon Putna, then the natural filial love of Yashoda would have been hurt, because in that way Yashoda would have come to know that her so-called son, Krishna, was God himself. So Prabhupada is explaining that if Yashoda Maya had seen her son grown to be so huge to kill Buddha, how she could have had the same love for Krishna? And with the knowledge of the godhood of Krishna, Yashoda Mai would have lost the temper of her love for Krishna as a natural mother. But as far as Lord Krishna is concerned, he is God always, either as a child on the lap of his mother or as a coverer of the universe, Vamandeva. He does not require to become God by undergoing severe penances, although some men think of becoming God in that way. So people think that when we do these penances, when we get purified, we become God, or when we become self-realized, we'll become God. Nobody will become God. Nobody is going to merge in God. We'll remain as living entities, purified living entities. That's all. By undergoing severe austerities and penances, one cannot become one or equal with God, but one can attain most of the godly qualities. A living being can attain godly qualities to a large extent, but he cannot become God. Whereas Krishna, without undergoing any type of penance, is God always, either in the lap of his mother or growing up or at any stage of growth. So at the age of only 3 months, he killed Shaktasura, who had remained hidden behind a cart in the house of Yashodamai. And when he was crawling and was disturbing the mother from doing household affairs, the mother tied him up with a grinding pestle. But the naughty child drank the pestle up to a pair of a very high Arjun trees in the yard of Yashodamai, and when the pestle was stuck between the pair of trees, they fell down with horrible sound. So that's the Damodar Leela. When Yashodamai came to see the happening, she thought her child had been saved from the falling trees by the mercy of the Lord, without knowing that the Lord himself, crawling in her yard, had wreaked the havoc. So that is a way of reciprocation of loving affairs between the Lord and his devotees. Yashodamai wanted to have the Lord as a child, and the Lord played exactly like a child on her lap, but at the same time played the part of the Almighty Lord whenever it was so required. The beauty of such pastimes was that the Lord fulfilled everyone's desires. In the case of felling the gigantic Arjuna trees, the Lord's mission was to deliver the 2 sons of Kuvera, who were condemned to become trees by the curse of Narad, as well as to play like a crawling child in the yard of Yashoda, who took transcendental pleasure in seeing such activities of the Lord in the very yard of her home. So Krishna does many pastimes by single pastime. So in this pastime of Damodar Leela, he captured the hearts of everybody. So many things happened in that pastime. And also he delivered the 2 sons of Kuvera, Nalkuvar and Manigriva, who were cursed to stand as gigantic Arjuna trees by the curse of, or by the mercy of Narad Muni. Because they became trees, but not somewhere else, in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, where they could see the pastimes of Krishna every day, and ultimately they were delivered by Krishna. So that was important. The Lord in any condition is the Lord of the universe, and he can act as such in any form, gigantic or small, as he likes. So there are more pastimes later on. So I think we can stop here and we can discuss these pastimes tomorrow. Any questions or comments?
Very nice class, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Mata.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So I guess we can stop here then. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Jai